who have dedicated the time to making this a really, really good event. So we've had a full week of activities so far. We've had shared individual stories. We've been able to understand people's experiences of working abroad and coming from overseas into this country to undertake the nursing. And so it's been really, really beneficial to us all to understand those experiences and those specialisms and our hopes for the nursing future. We've had a slight change to the programme, so the updated programme has been sent out. So later on, we've got a few activities and an opportunity to meet our second cohort of international nurses. So that will be really good because obviously we weren't able to do that on Monday. And we've also got some photos to share and a video. So thank you, Asha, for being able to facilitate that today, really helpful. And so I'm just going to go through to slide 1, Anita, which is about session etiquette. So again, if you could keep your microphones on mute, just so that everyone can hear the speakers really clearly. If you're having trouble with your connection, if you go off your camera, it might help. If you use the hands option, hopefully everybody's got access to that. If not, you can use the chat box if you want to say something, and you can wait for one of the facilitators, i.e. myself or one of the other members of the team, to invite you to join in. And we've got a question section at the end of the presentations, and that's an opportunity again for you to pop any questions that you have in the box, and then we can come to you directly for those questions for the presenters to respond to. So say any problems at all, post them in the chat box. We are relying on technology more so today than any other day, so forgive us if we have some delays or some teething problems, and we'll work those through. So really good to see you all, and say I'm going to hand you over to our Executive Director of Nursing, Anne Scott, and wish you all a happy International Nurses Day.
Hi everyone, thank you very much, Lou. Bless you, thank you. Next slide please, Anita. I'm going to be doing, oh lovely, thank you. So welcome to today, which is the official International Nurses Day. We've been celebrating all week, and we've still got this afternoon and tomorrow to continue celebrating. So welcome to the official day. Next slide please, Anita, thank you. So today is an important day to all nurses globally. It marks the anniversary of the birth of Florence Nightingale, who is widely considered the founder of modern nursing. And we have celebrated on this day since 1965, and today marks her 202nd birthday. This year's theme for International Nurses Day is Nurses, a Voice to Lead. And this is an opportunity to reflect the work of all of our nurses and recognise the wide variety of nursing that contributes to providing holistic care for our population, from birth to death, in hospitals, communities and in the homes of our service users and patients. Next slide, thank you, Anita. So this year we focus on the need to invest in nursing in order to build a resilient, highly qualified nursing workforce and to protect nurses' rights, in order to transform health systems to meet the needs of our population now and in the future. We know that nurses have suffered tremendously throughout the pandemic. And for this afternoon, I would like us to remember and pay tribute today to some of our nursing colleagues who we have sadly and tragically lost over this time. On Monday, when I opened this week's celebrations, I described how important investment in our workforce is. It is fundamental to ensure that we build the right level of skills and capabilities within our teams. And I'm very proud that we've started to successfully recruit internationally. And we are exploring new roles and new opportunities within our nursing teams. As we continue to celebrate nursing, I'm also delighted to introduce the National Here for Life campaign, which is being launched today, which will support and promote our profession, highlighting the invaluable work that we all do. Next slide, thank you, Anita. So this new campaign showcases skills, knowledge and professionalism of nurses and midwives, and follows some extensive research. It also highlights that more than a quarter of people would consider becoming either a nurse or a midwife. Nursing and midwifery are considered to be the two top three most important professions in the UK. And new research, as I've just described, marks the launch of this campaign has revealed that more than a quarter of people would consider themselves as a career in nursing itself. The Here for Life campaign plans to harness the power of social media and raise awareness of the breadth and diversity of nursing and midwifery roles and the tremendous impact that we have on individual patients and on our communities. And its aim is to encourage more nurses and midwives into the profession, and also the nurses and midwives that we have to share their stories. This is a really exciting opportunity to raise our profile and promote the fantastic work that our profession does, and hopefully encourage you to share your stories, which I hope you will take the opportunity to do this afternoon. Next slide. Thank you, Anita. So I've been asked to humbly share my story and some insight into my career. So I hope you find this interesting, and I don't bore you too much with this. I won't take too long. So was there a cunning plan between being a staff nurse on the left-hand side, which is me there as newly qualified, or into the director post in my old uniform when I first joined LPT in the right-hand picture? So no, there wasn't a cunning plan. Although I was always interested in professional development and understanding the science of nursing and leadership. I'm born and bred in Leicestershire, and I began my nursing career in 1987 as a registered general student nurse in Charles Frere's School of Nursing, which is now part of De Montfort University. My first staff nurse position was at the Leicester General, and this picture here is showing me very proudly showing off my new epaulets and my shiny buckle. The nursing profession was very different then, with a very hierarchical and often very scary seniority. And as a first year newly qualified staff nurse, you're often seen at being at the bottom of a very tall ladder. I was always interested in doing a good job and delivering high standards of care. So I moved through the traditional nursing leadership roles, from being a ward sister on a busy medical ward to being a nurse practitioner in an A&E department, and then on to being a matron within a surgical directorate, and then into more senior head of nursing roles in large acute trusts, managing trauma pathways through an ED. I then moved out of hospital completely into a commissioning role as a nurse, which I learned loads about how the business of the NHS runs in commissioning. Since joining Leicestershire Partnership Trust as the Deputy Chief Nurse, I'm very proud to be your Executive Director of Nursing now. Next slide, please, Anita. So the reality in practice. So the last year in particular has been unprecedented in drawing on all of our energies and internal resources. And being a nurse is particularly challenging in the world of healthcare today. I'm very mindful about how we look after ourselves and how we look after each other. I've suffered what could be described as burnout twice in my career. And going through this experience, I think, has helped me to support others today. Looking after yourselves and your colleagues is such a simple yet important message. As I said, I've done many roles throughout my career, and with a clinical background in acute emergency medicine, which is by nature very busy and stressful, looking after myself has been so important. So looking after yourself and your team with kindness and compassion is key to being able to look after your patients and to deliver high quality, compassionate care. Next slide, please, Anita. So having a role model is so important as well, and I would advise you to choose wisely. I've learned as much about how not to be from poor role models as I have from great ones. There are two of mine here who you may know. These are two famous role models of mine, and I'll explain briefly why they are role models of mine in a moment. Having strong role models has helped guide me and shape me both personally and professionally. Being clear about who you are and how you land with others is really, really important. It's about having insight into yourself, and perhaps today you can spend some time reflecting on who are your role models and why, and then think about what sort of role model are you to others, And how do you know? So this picture, in this picture on the left-hand side, this is one of my role models, all-time role models, actually, from growing up. Atticus Finch is a fictional character in one of my favourite novels, To Kill a Mockingbird. He's the character of a lawyer, and he is representing here Tom Robinson, the character next to him, who's an African-American man who was wrongly accused of rape, which was fueled by racism. And one pertinent comment that Atticus makes to his children when dealing with racism in this book is, first of all, if you learn a simple trick, Scout, you'll get along better with all kinds of folk. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. I've been passionately anti-racist since growing up with my Indian friend who is like a sister to me and her family. And this book and the character of Atticus taught me so very much. And then on the right, we've got the famous Maya Angelou, who is an inspiration to me and many others, and has helped guide me in her words of wisdom over the years. And another really strong character in life who has triumphed in the face of adversity and racism. And this is one of her sayings, which you may recognize. People will forget what you said and what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this has been a guiding principle for me. Next slide, please. Thank you, Anita. And of course, happy birthday, Florence. I ground myself with this snippet from Florence often. I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took any excuse. And this is such an important part of holding ourselves and others to account so that we can advocate for the patient. So Florence here is referring to the idea of personal accountability. How do you hold yourself and others to account? And how do you do this with compassion? We hear and see excuses every day. There are millions of excuses offered. And the fact that no one is perfect, far from it, and we all fail from time to time. And I believe that nobody comes to work to do a poor job. I've seen nursing and midwifery change over the last 35 years that I've been in the NHS, and it will go on changing, embracing new technologies and new developments in treatment and in advances in healthcare. However, I believe that it is the nurse's unique ability to care for someone through a smile, with kindness and compassion. This will never change. Every human being has the right to be treated with respect, and it is our duty to ensure that their patients receive the respect they deserve. Perhaps today you can consider how you hold yourselves and others to account, and do you do this with kindness and compassion? Next slide, thank you, Anita. I'm very proud to be a nurse, and one thing I think is really important is to remember the reasons why we do what we do. Try to keep yourself grounded. So I just want to share this poem with you. Some of you may have seen it before, but please bear with me while I read it out. Being a nurse means you will never be bored, you will always be frustrated, you will be surrounded by challenges, so much to do and so little time. You will carry immense responsibility and very little authority. You will step into people's lives and you will make a difference. Some will bless you and some will curse you. You will see people at their worst and at their best. You will never cease to be amazed at people's capacity for love, courage, and endurance. You will see life begin and end. You will experience resounding triumphs and devastating failures. You will cry a lot. You will laugh a lot. You will know what it is to be human and to be humane. Happy International Nurses Day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And I say that last poem sums up so much, doesn't it? I think the more you read it, the more emotional it gets. So thank you. I'm just going to ask before we have our next speaker, if anyone has any questions that Anne would be willing to take. If you want to post them in the chat box or pop your hand up, that would be really helpful. But I'm going to put a question to you, Anne, if that's okay. So I'd just like to understand if you could describe the best day that you've had in your nursing career, what would it be and why?
Gosh, that's a really good question, Lou. Oh dear. Many times where we've, I will have discharged a patient safely, seen them recover. Many times where I held a patient's hand and they died peacefully. Many times actually with my colleagues and seeing staff develop. That's what I love to do. I love to see staff develop and move on and move up. Best day, crikey, oh Lord. I really can't, I don't think I could pin that one down, Lou, but the number of times where I can remember a number of patients where I've sort of, me and the team, affected their lives, the number of funerals that I've been invited to, graduation ceremonies for friends and sort of family that I've developed over the years for their children. Yeah, I mean, I think, I think joining LPT has been amazing for me, Lou. I think it'd be remiss of me not to say, and all the staff that I've met, I think it's fantastic. They're absolutely fantastic organisation, and I'm really proud of the fact. And I think one of the best days so far has been when the CQC said to me that they have seen significant improvement in the standards of care. I think that's amazing, because actually I didn't need the CQC to tell me that, but it's really nice to hear it. But good question, thank you.
No, thank you, and I appreciate putting you on the spot there as well. I'm going to come over to Asha and then Saskia.
Thank you, Anne. The question's after, but that's fine. But my question is really, as nurses, we always get some sort of bottlenecks, and it's about resilience. So when times are difficult or challenging, where does your resilience come from? Saying, actually, yeah, I'm better at this. I'm going to. Where do you find that energy from? Because you're our leader, and we look to you, and it's like, okay, so we're going to say one, but where does your resilience come from?
That's a really good question, Asha. Thank you. I think it comes from having a fantastic team around me. And most of you that know me will know that I reach out, and I don't always hide my frustrations well. I appreciate that. I know I am open, I am transparent. I do wear my heart on my sleeve, but I think that's really helpful, actually, to have that ability to feel safe and comfortable, because that gives you a forum where you can discuss, you can talk, and I think that's really important, that we do have that trust and support. But I think it's also important that you look after yourself. As I said in my presentation, I have, clinically suffered burnout twice, and it's an uncomfortable place to be. And I think what I would say to you is keep yourselves well, both mentally and physically. Keep talking, ask for support, think about physically, how do you look after yourself? I do enjoy, well, I don't know whether enjoy is the right word, but I exercise. Okay, I'm not sure enjoy is the right word, but I do exercise, and I always feel better afterwards. So I think, looking after yourself, having a good diet, and obviously most of you know that I also own a wine bar as well that I share with my husband. That's not a great way of de-stressing, but the odd glass of wine doesn't hurt. But not that I'm promoting that, but there is something about really thinking about what you do outside of work to look after yourself, who you spend the time with. Spend time with people that you value and that will add value to your life and help nurture you. I think would probably be what I would answer on that one, Asha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And move on to Saskia. Saskia, I know you put it in the chat box. I don't know if you're able to come on screen as well. I don't know what your connectivity is like today.
Oh no, I can. That's fine.
Brilliant.
Hello, Saskia.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what piece of advice you'd give yourself if you could go back to the start of your career.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, don't be afraid, and be yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself, I think, is what I would say, and really believe in yourself. So I think if I look back, when I was sort of newly qualified, I remember sort of thinking, oh, well, I'll never be a ward sister, or I'm not clever enough to do. At that point, it was diploma level. I was so pleased I registered as a nurse. I didn't do very well at school. I don't know whether Catherine Holland's on the call, but Catherine and I went to school together. And I remember getting off, is Catherine on the call? I remember getting off a bus. Catherine and I had been on a trip, and Catherine's mum was there to greet her with her A-level results, and mine wasn't. That said a lot, which is basically I didn't do very well at school. And so you know, don't be afraid of sort of reaching for the stars, actually, I would say, because you know, I never thought I would be able to have done my PhD and be a nurse director, but I had passion, and I absolutely believed in myself, and I had a really good supportive family around me, and I was really lucky to have excellent role models throughout my life and career. So I think it would be that, Saskia. It would be yourself, be authentic, be curious, always be curious, and above all, be kind to yourself and
Thank you.
others. Yeah.
Thank you, Em. You can take the spotlight off you now. You can.
Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, lovely.
Thank you. I'm going to move us on, hopefully, to our guest speaker, our second guest speaker today, who's Professor Catherine Mason, Her Magistrate's Coroner, and she's going to talk us through her journey and her career to date. So we're really delighted and privileged to have Professor Catherine Mason with us. And so I'm going to hand over to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Obviously, I was asked to give this talk today. I've obviously previously given a talk, and I know it's about the obviously my career journey. And I thought, you know what, there's going to be nothing more boring if I start off with you know, going through my CV, to be honestly. And so I was like, you know, in 1986 I did this, and in 1989 I did the other, and I thought you'll be falling flat asleep. So what I'm going to do is actually take you through my career journey, but with a slight difference. And I've just been listening to Anne last off, and I think in terms of therefore what I'm going to say when I talk to you about my journey will actually have resonance with what Anne's just said. And so I'll go through and I'll go in through my notes. I think that I did send actually some slides, but the slides don't sort of say too much, to be honest, until I get to the very last one, and I'll just say to pop up that last slide. And so I'll start talking now through my actual notes. So I say, you know, first of all, thank you for inviting me to speak to you today. Now, I'm sure that when many observe me and what I've achieved, they will probably think that I had a rite of passage, a wealthy background, upper class status, and a clear plan to get where I am. The truth of it is, though, nothing could be further from the truth. Therefore, my speech, as I've said, is not simply my CV, but instead it's about my approach to life. And it's about being different and happy to be my authentic self. This is because this is something that I've made a personal philosophy and which I endeavour to live by. It's about how I've done it my way. Now, the thing is, I think it probably all started when I was around 15 years of age, and I was in my final year of school. That was about the time that I started to observe people's behaviour. You see, I was at an all-girls school, and so depending on my parents' wealth and my academic abilities, life after school was mapped out for me. Or at least that's the way that it seemed to me. My academic abilities were all right, and I say all right because they were just about all right. They weren't, you know, I didn't excel, and they were all right. But the truth of it is the funds were never going to be there for me in any event for university. So immediately a career in law or medicine and the like were off the discussion agenda. And the jobs that were deemed suitable did not appeal. The amount of times that my career teacher would try and get me interested on becoming, you know, working in a travel agency, go to a bank, being a nursery nurse and the likes, or even just working, you know, as a secretary. And I just wasn't interested. So as a result, my career teacher deemed me awkward and rebellious, saying that my mouth would always get me into trouble. And the only place I was heading to was the job seeker's office. Now, in my day, that was known as the dole office. And that's what she would say to me. Kathy, the only place for you is the dole office. Well, as a teacher, I suppose her being 50% right wasn't too bad, and I can assure you that I've never been to the dole office. Now, I didn't know it then, but over the years, I have come to see that the reason that often people don't follow their dreams is simply because they don't dare to be different. And that doesn't equate with being awkward. To me, being different means asking why, making your own track, not just following the well-trodden path, charting your own course and destiny, and being the person that you were meant to be. The problem as I see it is that too often we work very hard to be like everyone else, to do what is expected of us just so that we fit in and so that we're accepted. But the minute we do that, we lose the opportunity to grow beyond present barriers and circumstances, because every day is actually a chance to become a better person. With regards to my career path, there was no simple or easy answers to find the right one. I could have listened to my careers teacher for once and gone to the job centre to find out what they had on offer. Instead, I stuck to my completely unconventional choice in an all-girls school and decided I'd join the army. However, I did take the good advice of the Army Careers Advisor, and I got a trade before I joined up. And that's what I was told to do. Get a trade in case you don't like it, then you go back to Civvy Street with something. So I actually qualified as a nurse first, but as soon as I was able, I signed up to the Queen Alexandra's Royal Army Nursing Corps, with the QAs. At the time, I was the youngest ever lieutenant to be commissioned into the QAs. So moving in this direction helped me discover more about myself. It allowed me to add to my list of what worked for me and what didn't, what I enjoyed and what I did not. I felt free of the constraints of previous boundaries and of people sensing rejection just because I didn't want the same as them or because I wasn't happy with what they'd always been happy with. Always asking why and questioning decisions has so often resulted in me being labelled as the difficult one, the awkward one, or the troublemaker. However, I've always lived as my authentic self, and I admit that it often takes courage to do so. But I fear not doing that more than I fear being labelled. I believe that if I don't live as my authentic self, I will become less of myself and limit what I can do. Walking to the beat of my own drum allows me to use all my gifts and be there for others. Living as I really am, I become my best self. As I look at my life today, I'm aware that nothing I am doing now was part of my plan, direction, or interest when I was in my teens, 20s to early 30s. Some of it didn't even emerge until I was in my late 30s and early 40s. My past reflects experience as good and bad, but it is the totality of my experience that would shape my journey. Even though some were hurtful, I have not let them define me or limit where I could go. Having joined the army, I thought I'd achieved everything. I'd made it and I was where I wanted to be. Opportunities were opening up in abundance and I was grabbing them by the bucket load. I'd become a ward sister. I'd been promoted to captain, served in Gulf War I as part of an elite medical team, obtained a degree, specialised in burns and plastics nursing, and all while having the time of my life. However, a car accident then put a fork in my road, and it brought about change that I was not planning for and left me with choices. The injuries I sustained meant that I could not remain in the army. My hopes and dreams had been stolen from me by the irresponsible act of one person. Nevertheless, I figured that it was not the car accident and the situation I found myself in that would determine my future, but how I viewed it. I could have remained angry, retreated to the woods to lick my wounds and forever be the victim, sit around and accept the deck of cards life had just dealt me, or I could do something about it. I chose the latter and I returned to Civvy Street to study law at Leicester University and started to grow my tree of life in a new direction, with new branches, and transform myself. Having released the hold of the car accident, I freed myself to once again embrace the wonder of all that I could be. After all, difficulties in life aren't new. Everyone goes through struggles and difficulties during their life. But to think there are no doors or windows is just an illusion of the mind. My mum used to say, as a door closes, a window will open. I never used to understand that. I used to think she meant life would shortchange me. However, I have since realised that the window is the window of opportunity, and the closing door is the past by which I should not be defined. I could have stayed in my comfort zone and returned to nursing. I had the opportunity to return to the NHS hospital I worked in before I joined the army. I would have been safe there. I would have had guaranteed income. No matter how bad things were, and no matter what I thought I could or could not do, I had a choice, and I could have easily entered a comfort zone and entered a situation I knew rather than venture into the unknown. However, I decided to stay away from the comfort zone, and in doing so, I created a fresh view and a new path on my life. And a new next path on my life. My new career journey started to unfold before my eyes. That is probably why, at first instance, my career path does not make sense. Change happened when I didn't want it to. I couldn't prevent it. What I did do was embrace change, work with it, and improve my journey rather than let the change create a roadblock. Nevertheless, return to study brought hardship. I had no regular income. Any savings I had were absorbed by university course fees. yet I still need to put fuel in my car to get to university, pay my mortgage and feed myself. I gratefully accepted food parcels provided by my mum and nonna, and never turned down an invitation for a meal at their house, or in actual fact anyone's house for that matter. I used my nursing qualification to get a job at a local private hospital, working the night shifts at weekends and during the holidays. There were obstacles along the way. I questioned if I really enjoyed law. I certainly did not care about constitutional law in the shape of bananas, or even if the 10% part on a Mars bar label really was 10% of the actual chocolate bar. The feedback from my first assignment made it clear that I had an opinion that I was not permitted unless I was a judge. It seemed my mouth was still getting me in trouble, so I could see only one way of fixing it, and that was to become a judge. But that meant tiny steps, and the first was to complete my law degree. I graduated in 1998 and completed my legal practice course in 1999. I've spent the summer backpacking around Australia and returned to England to take up posts as a trainee solicitor. I qualified in 2001 and specialised in personal injury and clinical negligence law. At first, I thought I was doing something really great, challenging and exciting. But after a few years, I knew that it wasn't really right for me. I was successful in my work and promotion was on the cards. I had status and a really good income that meant I could afford good holidays and a nice house. All the things that many would see as success, but not to me. It didn't fit with my own definition of success. None of it mattered because for the first time in my life, I knew that I was doing something that I didn't want to. I was bored. I existed. I was someone, but I wasn't me. I didn't feel a buzz, even when I won case after case. Being a solicitor felt like being an ambulance chaser, and it was all about how much money I could earn for the firm each month. I would hit my targets, keep the bosses happy, but I had no personal satisfaction. However, I've always accepted that life is not easy and that there would be challenges I did not foresee. By doing so, I did not beat myself up for pursuing a career in law and ended up where I was. Nevertheless, I was not going to stagnate either. You see, there are two sides to this story, just as there are two sides to a coin. On one side are the words, life is hard. But turn it over and there are 5 very small but powerful words. They read, you can make it better. So I did. I knew I had total responsibility to make my life better. I had the ability and the power. As the now cliche saying goes, and one that my nana would always tell me, if life hands you lemons, make lemonade. In 2006, I was asked to cover an inquest at short notice. That was the lemon. With no papers, I literally winged it using my medical and legal knowledge. I knew that I was overstepping the mark, pushing boundaries to do what was right, and it felt good. However, as a result, it was no surprise when the coroner asked to see me afterwards. But much to my surprise, it wasn't to discipline me. He wanted to discuss other matters with me and ask why I wasn't a barrister. I told him it was because I wanted his job, but it was like waiting for dead men's boots. My mouth had become operational once again. Fortunately, he saw the funny side and asked what I'd done about it. Ashamedly, I admit I'd done nothing. But that night, I changed that and I wrote to him asking him if he had any vacancies for an assistant coroner and explained what I could bring to his office. That resulted in my first assistant coroner's post. I had made lemonade out of that lemon and I'd changed again. At first, my firm of solicitors supported this, but it soon became clear that I had to make a choice. So I did, and I left private practice. It wasn't a hard choice, really, on the basis that I was leaving something that I didn't enjoy. However, with no contract or guaranteed hours, it was a risk financially, and hardship may have followed. It wasn't a question if there would be bread and jam or bread and ham, but rather if there would be any bread at all. Therefore, I gave myself 12 months to make it work. 12 months later, I secured 2 further assistant posts and a deputy post. By 2008, I was acting senior coroner, and in 2009, I was appointed senior coroner for Leicester City and South Leicestershire, and Home Office accredited disaster victim identification card coroner in 2010. As a coroner, I've continued to change, reflect, and develop. I've continued to study, and I've completed diploma courses in forensic medical science, as well as human identification. I worked tirelessly to introduce the first NHS-based post-mortem scanning service funded by the local authority, so that where possible, invasive post-mortems are not undertaken. I introduced a medical examiner system ahead of the national system, so that all hospital deaths in my area are scrutinised, whether or not they are reported to me. We are the only area to have now started to roll this out into primary care. I've also been the incident coroner for a number of disasters, both internationally and locally. I participated in many research projects, and currently I'm on the steering group for a British Heart Foundation project that, if successful, will result in a pathway to identify genetically inherited heart conditions that will be rolled out across England and Wales. I'm also expanding my area, and currently I'm involved in a business case to merge with Rutland and North Leicestershire to ensure the consistency of service across Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. In doing these things, I brought about many changes and continue to do so. That is because I still ask why. Does that still get me to bother? Yes. Do I care? Not as much as I care about what's doing what's right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I became a coroner my way. Thank you for listening. And I think there's a final slide now that can pop up if it's available. Is there? Is there a slide I can share my screen? There we go. That's the final slide for you to read. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. A truly inspirational journey that you shared with us. So we really appreciate that. So I'm going to go to questions either in the chat box, or if you want to just put your hand up so we can see who's asking the question, that'd be helpful. Have a look. I know there was some in there. Can't see anybody brave enough to put their hands up yet. Thank you. So I'm going to ask.
Oh, somebody's got their hands up. Yeah. Emma Wallace has got a hand up.
Emma.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask you where you get your tenacity from, because I think, you know, that you know, and the resilience, because we've talked about resilience a lot, particularly over the last couple of years, and that, I suppose, bravery and honesty, and I think we have a lot of staff that, you know, might feel, oh, can I just be that? And I know Anne spoke earlier, but yeah, it'd be really great to hear about that.
Where do I get my tenacity from? Go on, expand. How do you want me to explain about where I get my tenacity from?
I suppose it's your resilience, because, like you say, you've sort of broken the mold. You've asked those questions, and you've had a lot of knockbacks and stuff. I guess it's about the things that you do to keep yourself going, really, and to keeping that dream and breaking that mold. And any tips, I guess, for
for me, I think what it is, in all honesty, is that my job is so rewarding. And I think that's how it was in nursing. Every day I was in nursing, it was rewarding. When I was in the army, it was rewarding. As a lawyer in private practice, it wasn't. Right. And that's what the thing is, you know, I'd go home, and I wouldn't say that, you know, I was miserable as a lawyer, but I just wasn't happy when I got home. It's just, I wasn't fulfilled. My day wasn't fulfilled. In nursing, I was. You know, I'll give an example in nursing is that there was at one stage when, you know, this was somebody had died, and basically the wife did not want him to go into the mortuary, and it just wasn't known that somebody at night, you know, it was dying, that they wouldn't go into the mortuary and stay there and then go the next day. And again, on that one, I asked why not, and nobody could really answer me. And it appeared that so long as I got him down and through by 9 o'clock, he would have to, if you like, travel through the mortuary for the undertakers to get to that door. And I remember going home that night really buzzing, because I'd done something different. I'd asked why, nobody gave me an answer, and I'd done it. Possibly broke every rule in the book, you know, if there was one, but it was still rewarding. And that's, you know, one example of me in nursing. And that's after I go home. You know, there would be times when things would upset you and would get to you. But there was many times you go back and you'd get a real buzz because you helped, you've done something good. That's how exactly as I was in the army, doing different things there. That's how I'm in this job. Equally, I'm also privileged to work with such a fantastic team as well. And we keep everybody going. We look out for one another, you know, so that's really important. And a team that trusts me as well, so that, you know, if all of a sudden, you know, I do go off the usual pathway and I do say we're going to do something different, they trust me to know that I'm doing it for the right reasons. And the fact that there's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't forget that I am privileged to be in this position as well, that I don't take it for granted. You know, I always say, if I get cross, it's not because you've upset Kathy Mason, it's because what you've done, you've just failed the service that I'm privileged to deliver. and, you know, to be there for the deceased and the bereaved. You know, I'm that person that is now the voice for those who have no longer got one because they're deceased, or they're bereaved because they're so upset or so lost in the system that they don't know how to use their voice. So it's all of that that keeps me going. And actually, you know, as I've kind of escalated the ladder and I've thought, what's the point of being in a position here? It's great, you know, I'm not here to make the easy decisions. I'm here to make the difficult ones. I'm here to do the challenges. What's the point of me being in this position unless I'm going to push boundaries and create change and start saying, which is why I got quite passionate about the CT scanning, because I thought to myself, in the living, if you went to the doctor and said, doctor, you know, I've got, you know, a bit of a pain in my abdomen. If he said to you, that's not a problem, I'm going to book you in for surgery tomorrow and I'm going to open you up. And whilst I'm at it, I'm also actually going to pop and have a look at your brain as well. You'd be straight out of there thinking, I'm going to see somebody else.
Yeah.
So my question was, why couldn't we put the deceased through a scan? Why suddenly should we just, you know, give them, you know, sort of like cut them? Because I've always said, if I authorize a cut that's justified, that's surgery. If I authorize a cut that's not justified, that's mutilation, which is why I work so incredibly hard to get scanning into our service. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Where I get it from?
Yeah,
And I've also got to say I'm with Anne, wine as well. And
Yeah.
but there we go.
No, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Not a problem. You're welcome. I think somebody else popped up their hand as well with a question.
Yeah, Margot, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Kathy, for your presentation. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. I suppose I just wanted to, and you just touched on this a bit really, but just to maybe confirm with you that you, even though you chose to move into a different sphere of practice, nursing was good for you and you were proud to have been a nurse. And that's sort of coming through, but
I'm still proud. And that is why, although I'm not on the practicing register, I am still proud to include in the letter after my name, RGN. And I still say this is where my roots, and this will say so everything, although it doesn't first of all make sense, in actual fact, this was the platform. And so incredibly proud to have been a nurse and still remain incredibly proud to tell people that I was a nurse.
thank you.
Thank you. I just see there's Fiona, you come in as well. Do you want to ask your question? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Catherine. I just wanted to ask, have you got any advice that we can support our staff with and our nurses with when they're coming to present at Coroner's Court, to get the best out of them and to make them understand better, you know, why they're doing what they're doing, and not to, because it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's difficult, and nurses get very scared. That doesn't help, and we want to make sure, because we are all aiming to give that outcome for patients and families, but it's getting there in the right way.
Yeah, I can, Fiona. I normally give about a 1 hour's presentation on this, but I don't think you actually want that right now.
I'm okay. I'm good.
But in a nutshell, what I'd actually say is for nurses is that, you know, you go in there as witnesses of fact. So unless you're specifically told you're going to be an expert, it is a witness of fact. So you go in there to tell people about what job you do, what you did at that time, what you did, why you did it. Okay. So go and be yourself, be that nurse that you are proud to be day in, day out. The truth of it is, as that nurse, you will know your job far more than those other people in court. You're going to have, you know, the coroner there in the main, they're not going to be nurses. They're not even in the main going to be medically qualified. You're going to have lawyers, exactly the same. So the truth of it is, you are the ones there with that greater knowledge. And the reason you are being called is because you are there going to help the court understand. You're not going there in the main to be criticised. If you are, then you'll know about that in advance, because, you know, and it's, when I say to be criticised, that's not what the court's about. We're not there to criticise. We're not there to find fault nor blame. So if the nurse feels they're being criticised, that's because that's what the nurse feels, not because they are. And the truth of it is, all it is exploring. So if, you know, if a nurse has done something that wasn't quite right, it won't be a surprise to her when she's giving that evidence in court. So she might feel like she's being criticised, but it's not. It's just so the court can understand why. Because let's face it, you know, there's very few nurses, you know, Beverly Allett aside, that goes to work to do harm. Nurses go to work to do good. But sometimes things that present themselves at that time aren't quite as they are. And as nurses, we're making decisions all the time. And we might get something that absolutely looks like A. And we make a decision to respond and react in accordance with A. However, the person dies and the post-mortem result shows that it was B. And in actual fact, that treatment given in accordance with A would be contraindicated in B. Now that makes it look like the nurse has done something wrong. On hindsight, but we're not there to look at hindsight. We're there to understand what happened at the time. So it's very much for that nurse to go along and say, this is what I was presented with. This is what I thought. This was my reasoned decision. As a result of that, this is why I took the actions that I did. Had I known it was B, of course, I would never have done that. But what I was doing at the time, I believed was the right thing to do. And had it been A, it would have been right. Now, that is then the correct approach, as opposed to go, landing yourself on your sword already, saying, oh, I got it wrong. I did it wrong. You didn't. So they're going along, and same as say, nurses are there. They get up every day to go to work to do good, to help others. When they're coming into court, they're doing exactly the same. They're coming in to do good and to help others in court understand what they did and why they did it. So equally, to try and prepare as well for the inquest, if they know they're going, or even if they're not, by all means, come to a coroner's court, watch an inquest so you understand. Because as I say, there's very few people that aren't worried about coming to a court. That's the judge, the lawyers, let's face it, it's their holiday for next year, and the habitual offender. They're the ones. Everybody else are going to be fearful. But hey, think about this one. Get one of those pinstripe lawyers, put him in your job for the day, and see how long they'll last. And see exactly how long it is before they start to look scared with some of the things that you as nurses have to face.
Very true.
Remember that one.
Thank you. Melanie, do you want to come in as well? Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry, Kathy. Just you mentioned at the beginning of your answer to Fee's question that it's an hour-long presentation. How do we access that hour-long presentation? Where do we get one of those?
You asked me to do a presentation for you, and I'll happily do one.
That's great.
As a training day.
I think it would be lovely actually for nurses to almost have access to that before they're actually called to go, wouldn't it? And it might be something that already is an opportunity and I perhaps haven't heard of it, but yeah, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So planning in progress, I think, there as we move on. Thank you. So I'll bring that to a close again. Thank you so much for your time and your inspirational story. It really is very courageous. And as I say, you've faced adversity on the way, we can see that. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Lisa. I was asked as well, and I think it was by Neela who said, is that I think as part of with the nurses, you'd always been asked questions to say, what advice would you give to your younger self? My advice to my younger self, don't listen to me. For the simple fact, I wouldn't have done anyway. So why waste my breath? But the truth of it is that listening to your older self would sometimes, for me, I think to myself, make my younger self different, and I wouldn't want to be different, and that's it. So sometimes I think to myself, just be you, and that's what I say. My advice to my younger self is don't listen to me. That way you can still develop yourself the exact way that you want to.
Lovely, thank you. That's
All
great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thank you.
So we're going to move us on now to the exciting part of the session, or not, depending how much you know about flow. Our flow, Florence Nightingale. And what we thought we'd do is have a little bit of fun with a quiz. And again, there's no Googling allowed, so no cheating, nurses. No looking on the iPads or phoning a friend. And I think the easiest way we're going to do this is through the, because we haven't got any buzzers, obviously, we're not that technical yet, but maybe in the next few years we'll see. So if you can use your hand, raise your hand, first person to respond to the question, that would be really good. Now, some of the information has already been provided along the days, and then some of the information that Anna's given as well today. so we can just check how well we're all listening. But it was a kids quiz to begin with, and we have adapted it slightly for our older generation, i.e. adults. So we're going to go ahead with that. So bear with me because I'm working on one screen, so it's not great to keep pulling things over. So again, it's hands on the buzzer. So I'm relying on Anita. And Anita, if you can keep your eye on the hand box, if that makes sense, of the people, and you can just go to the first person, just because I won't be able to see them as fast with reading out the questions. So our first question today is, what is the national theme for International Nurses Day 2022? And we can potentially take two answers for this. So it's a national theme for International Nurses Day 2022.
Rachel Shaw.
Rachel.
Best of Nursing.
Yeah, we can take that. That's a Royal College of Nursing theme. Thank you. And Elaine.
Hashtag for life.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Thank you. So yeah, we can take both answers for that. Got echo now, which isn't good. Right, I'll go to our next question. Why is International Nurses Day held on the 12th of May?
Margot.
Because it's Florence's birthday.
Thank you. Yes, Margot. It's like University Challenge, isn't it? It's great. So yes, International Nurses Day is celebrated around the world every 12th of May. It's the anniversary of her birthday. And we know that nursing have worked particularly hard through the pandemic. So we've got extra reason to celebrate over the last 2 years, and also to go ahead and shatter all the stereotypes of nursing historically. So we need to recognise that and hold on to that and cherish that as we move forward. And then I'll move on to question 3. How old would Florence Nightingale be if she were alive today?
Melanie Brown.
202.
Well done, thank you, Mel. Your maths is far better than mine, so that's good. And then question 4 is, why is Florence Nightingale famous? What is she most famous for?
Nimala.
She is considered as a founder of nursing, and she was caring and first in the nursing field.
Fantastic, thank you. So yes, she established the first secular school of nursing at St Thomas's Hospital in London. Her social reforms were huge. She includes improving healthcare for all sections of British society. She advocated for better hunger relief in India and abolishing prostitution laws that were over harsh to women. So she believed fundamentally in compassionate treatment for the poor and providing an holistic approach to patient care. And yes, thank you. And she was founder of the IPC. And again, that was the first thing that she became famous for within the days of the Crimean War. Thank you. So we'll move on to question 5. Why did Florence Nightingale spend 11 years in bed?
Nimala.
I have read somewhere, but I think here she had some infection from while she was serving in the war time.
Yeah, so that's correct. So while at Scutari, Nightingale Florence had contracted Crimean fever, and she never really fully recovered from this. So by the time she was 38 years old, she was homebound and bedridden, and would be so for the remainder of her life. So I think at the minute you're way ahead of us as a champion of this quiz. I'm going to go to the next question, and this is an easy one. Where was Florence Nightingale born? Namala again.
I don't know exact place. I know she's from England.
She did come to England. She was born in Florence in Italy, which is where she got her name from. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we're nearly there, so stay with us. Who is our Chief Nurse of England?
Nimala again.
Ruth May.
Thank you, Namala. I wish I
had a prize.
I'm trying to think of a prize now. We're going to have to think of something, aren't we, for definite. And then on to question Number 8, we've got 2 more after this. What other names is Florence Nightingale famously known as?
Usher.
Lady of the Lamp.
Yeah, Lady with the Lamp, thank you. And then we're moving on to the social media campaign, which brings us into our next step of this. So what is a social media campaign that was launched today? It was embargoed until today, but it was launched today.
Usher.
Something for life. Health for life. No, not health for life.
Here for life.
Here for life. Here for life.
It goes to Elaine.
Here for life, indeed. And then the final question for the quiz is, what does the campaign aim to do? Elaine, was it Namala? Sorry, Namala.
Yeah, promote the voice of nursing and promote nursing.
Absolutely. So it's a great opportunity for us, isn't it? We recognise that nurses do so much and they have so much to offer. We really need to promote that and build that. Also bring people into the career of nursing and be able to share with us our experiences and give an understanding of what we do. And there's various frameworks that are out there now and available. Some of the links are provided on the slides today that you can go into and look through. And it gives us a real clear plan of how we promote that going forward, and how we get families involved, how we get our neighbours involved, our communities involved. So we're really promoting that campaign and getting behind nursing. And I'm going to bring us on, and I hope they're still with us. It's Harry and Ed from the communication team, and they're going to help us at this moment in time, if we can, start to look at how each one of us is going to promote our own story. It's not difficult, is it? It's literally loading up a photo and a video. But if we can really get behind this campaign and get it going, that gives us a couple of minutes just now if we could start to do that. So Harry, I'm going to come over to you. You've got the technical ability to describe it far better than I ever could.
Oh, thank you very much, and thanks everyone for having me here today. It's been really inspiring to listen to everyone's talking, so thank you. Yeah, so I think this is really, hopefully it should be really easy. So all we need you to do is to just get a picture. So it can either be a selfie, so if you've got a mobile phone with a camera on the front of it, you can take a selfie, or it can be, you can ask someone else to take a photograph of you. And it'd be lovely to sort of have you in your uniform if possible as well. I would just say, if possible, if you are with a patient when you're taking a photograph, we just need to make sure that we have written consent for that. We wouldn't be able to publish anything that we didn't have written consent for. But if you want to do the photograph with you and a friend, or anything like that, that's absolutely fine. So just using your mobile phone would be absolutely fine as well. No problems there, because the picture quality will be just as good as kind of any other camera. And yeah, we just want you to take that picture and write a little bit of a blurb about your role. So it might be something like that's somebody that might not know about your role, or it might be just a note about what you've done that day. It's really just to kind of give people an idea who don't really understand what a normal day in nursing looks like, just to give them a little insight. And all you need to do is share that on a social media platform. So you can share it on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, or on LinkedIn, any of those channels. And if you just use the hashtag #HereForLife, then that's the campaign's hashtag. So the aim of the campaign, I think, is to get around 900,000 social media posts across the UK, and that's around one for every kind of professional in nursing and midwifery. What we'd also like you to do, if possible, is just tag in Leicestershire Partnerships Trust social media. So what I'll do, I'll pop in the chat which ones are which app mentions you need to include for which different social media channel. And then that way we can kind of retweet them and share them, and we'd love to get as many of them shared as possible. And then we have got a template as well, so if anyone isn't on social media themselves, that's not a problem. I'll drop the template into the chat as well, so you've all got it. And then if you can, it's just a PowerPoint presentation. So same principle, just include a picture and a little bit of text, and we can share that for you with the hashtag. If you can just send that template to lpt.communications@nhs.net. I think that's about everything. I think hopefully it's nice and easy, but if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm happy to help.
Thanks, Harry. That's really helpful. I say I'm not technically literate, so I do appreciate your support with this. But yeah, if we could get those stories out there, I say it would be really great, because we absolutely need people to know what we do, how we do it, and also invite other people into the profession and support that. So thank you.
Definitely. And could I just add as well, you know, if anyone is ever interested in sort of getting involved in sharing their story, doesn't necessarily have to be as part of the Here for Life campaign. You know, the communications team are always really interested, because, you know, we know and we can see from the analytics on our social media channels that, you know, people are really interested in what it is you do. If we post a story with you know, nurses in the photograph, we can guarantee that it's going to get at least kind of 10 times more likes than anything else we post, which sort of says a lot, really, doesn't it? You know, so please do, you know, even if now is not the right time for you, at any other time, please let us know, because we're really happy to help you and just promote the great work that you're doing.
Thanks, Harry, and thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm going to take us over now to Asha, and again, sadly on Monday we weren't able to meet our new cohort of international nurses, because the timings didn't work out, did they, with them arriving. But we're on to day 4, well, day 3 for them now, and hopefully now we'll get a chance to introduce ourselves, meet and greet them, and also share their story through a video. And we've got some photos as well. So I'm going to hand over to you so you can again facilitate that introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. So yes, it's International Nurses Day, and what I will say is we actually are global. So I'm Asha Day. I'm the International Recruitment Lead for Nursing at Leicester Partnership Trust, and we are on day 2 of the training programme for our international nurses. All have come from or will be coming from India for this cohort. 7 are in country, and they've all joined us. 4 of them couldn't get visas, but as of 2 o'clock this afternoon, we understand 3 more have got visas, so they'll be joining us very soon. And we've just got 1 more visa left, so we look forward to actually seeing them over in Leicestershire. Now, if the technology proves successful, what I'd like to do is play you a video that our nurses did pre-arrival, on arrival, and taking their oh, she's managed it. Fantastic. Thank you. Can you play that?
Can you hear it?
Yes. Gosh, that made me feel quite emotional seeing the beginning of that, and because you think these are is that your sisters, your siblings, your children, because you really want for them to do well. And we actually, the first time we did it, we brought 30 nurses in, and no other trust has done that many in their first cohort. So fantastic, we've got them all done. So excellent. And I think we've got one of the stars on the show, Philip, here today. So Philip, if you want to pop your camera on and say hello, because Philip is originally from the Philippines, but he joined us from Singapore, and he was really quite nervous when he started, and we got him some extra support, and he was in the process of getting his family over. So here we go, here's Philip. Say hello, Philip, and you'll have to put yourself off mute and just talk about your journey.
Oh, sorry. Oops. Hello, Miss Asha. So far, it was a very unique journey as well, because we came here and it's totally different, especially the weather. Challenging in regards to transportation, because we don't have any car, so we need to adjust. There's a lot of things that was it was really difficult when we first came, but thanks to everyone, you, Ranjit, and all of the preceptors for guiding us and teaching us the way. And yeah, we're totally happy, and we are blessed that at least, even though we're new, we're being guided and we are being supported, especially the package. When we first came, we have some food to eat.
Yeah. And Philip, can you just explain, and because we've got a new cohort, so we've got 11 nurses on the line, that some are here, and we've got 4 more that are going to be joining us, and they will be absolutely petrified, I'm sure, because they'll be concentrating on OSCE, and OSCE is the second part of the component of the NMC to get them registered as fully registered nurses. So just explain about your journey through that 6-week OSCE training package.
For OSCE, actually everything is already written there in the training package. It doesn't mean that you have to memorize everything, but as long as you just try to be confident, and if you make a mistake, this is what I learned, because personally me, I dropped all of the ANTT set. I dropped it on the floor when I took the exam. But I showed the assessor that I made a mistake. So in actual practice, I would totally change everything. So that's it. You just have to point out your mistake and just do it continuously until you finish. And yeah, just try to be confident and just try to practice with someone you have in your training, so that you will gain more experience and you can practice through the mirror while doing your OSCE. And yeah, that's the advice that I can take.
Thank you.
I'm sure they will pass.
Yeah, and thank you, Philip, because you passed first time.
Thank you so much, Miss Asha.
So that's good. So even that you made a mistake, you realised you made a mistake and you pointed it out and you rectified it, because that's what folks are looking for, the examiners are looking for. So thank you very much. Have you got your family over yet?
No, there's a bit of delay. Maybe they might come around June or July.
Okay, thank you. I know you're excited because you worked a long time in Singapore without your family, and you're desperate to get your family over. So wishing you all the well. And I've got Ranjit. Ranjit is our
Thank you, Miss Asha.
Thank you, Philip. I've got Ranjit on the call as well today, and Ranjit is our practice development facilitator. And Ranjit, you're in day 2 of the training, and I wanted to just bring her in and sort of just introduce the nurses, because we have got them online.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, we're on day 2. I've got a cold, so I didn't get to see them personally yet, so I'm just seeing them online. But on day 2 of their training, they've been with me this morning. They were with UHL all day yesterday. They're a little bit overwhelmed with all the learning that they've been told they're going to do, but I think we're reassuring them, and the process is nerve-wracking, but it's enjoyable at the same time. So we're trying to tell them to enjoy themselves in the next 6 weeks, make the most of it, make some connections, make some friends, and we will be taking them to visit their wards within the 6 weeks, so they can get introduced to their wards. So Can everybody who's from LPT, the 11 candidates, can you put your cameras on and say hi? And if anybody's brave to share their story, I know Sibraj likes to say hello to people. I'm finding characters. Sibraj is our, I think, innocent, chatty, bubbly person in the group. Sheba, I like Sheba. She's come from Belgium. Her family's still in Belgium, so she's travelled from Belgium to come over. We've got Jossie from Kuwait. And there's Lintamol, who's got her visa today. She's still in India. Lintamol, are you online?
Yeah, she is.
And Andrew, if you guys could put your faces on, our nurses would like to see you if you can. Andrew got her visa today. Alwyn is the only male that we've got in this cohort. So I think I will connect Alwyn to Philip, or who was the other person?
Zoe.
Zoe was our previous male international nurses, but they are UHL have got male international nurses, so I'm sure Alwyn will be fine. So yeah, so does anybody want to say anything? I was a bit nervous to meet another group of new faces, but Sivraj, just say hi. Tell everybody where you're from. Tell us about your adventure into going to the bank the other day. That was really interesting yesterday. We heard that.
Hi, hello everybody. So actually I'm from India and it's a developing country. So we don't have much technology as it's developed in England. So yesterday we were day before yesterday we was having appointment with bank. So somebody told us that use Google Map to go over there. Firstly, we have started Google Map and nobody knows how to play. We just stand in between the road and we were searching where to go, left, right, straight or back. No. So we stand there, we put our phone in our hand. This way, no, we are wrong. We turned back. Then again, we went there. No, we are wrong. So after 15 minutes, we came to know that how to play that Google. Then we even didn't aware that how to cross road. So we didn't know that we have to press the button and then we need to cross the road. What we did, we just see that nobody is coming. We crossed the road. Somebody asked me that how to cross road. I said, no, I don't know, just cross the road. Nobody is there. So after passing 3 or 4 roads, we came to know that we need to press the button and then we have to cross the road. So that's it. So, but the people in Leicester, England are very supportive and helpful. But in India, we are not helping people at all.
Big country, busy people.
We are always leg puller, that how to pull anybody's leg. But here people are very helping in nature. That's it. That was my experience, that I learned a lot of things over here, that how to play Google Map and how to cross road. Till now we don't know how to catch a bus. So one day we will go, maybe Saturday we will go and we'll learn how to catch a bus to go anywhere.
Thank you, Sibraj. That's really, thank you. That's really nice. Anybody else want to say anything? I think they're all a bit shy. Anybody want to ask our nurses any questions? There's a hand gone up. Jaya.
Hi all. Hi, welcome to England and for Leicester Partnership Trust. And I have seen you all and wish you all the best. And Shivraj, as I hear, it's a good experience. I'm still learning. I come from India 17 years ago. You've taken me the journey. I'm always saying that every time, whoever I'm talking to. So you all will be really experiencing the good experience in LPT. And learning is always learning. And yeah, that's how we learn. Go and press the button, then you learn, go through 3 streets, You'll find out how to get into the bus, ask the driver how to get into the ticket. I'm still learning. I don't know. Always the driver is telling me off when you go into the bus. So that's how we learn. And this country, as you said, I totally agree with you. It's not that in India people are not helping. I think the way the culture, the way how we've been brought up from our parents, spoon-fed. We've been looked after very well. Totally, our parents did everything for us. And I think our parents protected us too much to do everything they did for us. So that is what I learned. When I come to this country, what I learned was the way the parenthood supported their children to becoming independent. That's something I will take back to my relatives, my cousins and everyone, which I am doing it. But it's a different way of learning. But people in England, almost everywhere in UK, they're very good, very supportive. I've learned a lot of respect you will gain, the way they will support you to learn. I'm sure you will enjoy. Hopefully in next 17 years, you can talk to for next people who come from India or anywhere about this. So wish you all the best for everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Jaya. I'll stop talking now.
Thanks, Ranjit. I think Anne's got a question as well.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a question. I just wanted to say exactly what Jaya's just said. Welcome, guys. I really look forward to meeting you all. I'm sure I will do. I'm the Director of Nursing, AHPs and Quality. And what that means is that hopefully I'll get a chance to come and say hello to you as the sort of lead nurse that sits on our trust board. And when you join, I'm sure we can have a session where I can talk you through that. But it'd be really great to meet you when I come out on my clinical visits. Don't worry too much. Just try and enjoy it is what I would say to you all. Don't worry too much, and really enjoy it. I do hope that you do have a really great time. I hope you feel welcome to the LPT family. We really appreciate you coming to support the workforce, and the journeys that you guys have been on are so interesting. So I hope to hear from you guys this time next year on International Nurses Day. Maybe you could do a session about your journey and what the last year has been like. So I look forward to meeting you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. I just want to end with an anecdote or an experience I had with our November cohort, and Philip might remember this. And we were taking our nurses to go and get their biometric card, which is about identity cards. And I sat there and Ranjit and I thinking, okay, we've got 3 cars. That means there's we can take 4 people each. And the one day we'd only got 2 cars, and then there was left me and there were 6 people. And I said, well, I'll take this cohort first and I'll come back for the others. And they said, no, Mum, we can all get in. I said, no, you can't all get in the car. And I thought, I need to explain something. And I said, well, how many seat belts has my car got? Oh, Mum, it's got 3 in the back seat and there's 2 at the front. I said, that's as many people as I can take legally, because back home you just put everybody in and you travelled. So, and it's just simple things like that. So I know that my lesson is, and we were going to do this, unfortunately Ranjit wasn't available, you were poorly, but we were going to walk the nurses to the bank so they knew how to get there. And some of these life lessons are learnt by the simplest of things. So we're going to start some. So 3 of you or 2 of you will be taken to Mill Lodge and Stuart House on Saturday. So we're doing some of the transfers into clinical placements and where they're going to be working on a Saturday, because it fits in with the timetable, and we can do that and help that. So you see, and I think Philip, you went as well, didn't you? You had that induction to the ward area, I think, before you started, and that really helps to calm the nerves down the way you're going. But everybody is absolutely delighted that you're joining us, that you're going to strengthen our nursing workforce, and then you're going to stop and, like Philip, bring your families over and be part of what expression, Philip, did everybody use? Welcome to the
Sorry.
LPT, well, the expression that came across, and I didn't have to bribe our nurses and say, here you are, say this expression. Everybody that works for LPT said, welcome to the LPT
So
family.
everyone, welcome to the LPT. Yeah, it's gonna be a very nice experience, and everyone will be supportive, and they will guide you throughout your journey.
But everybody uses the word family in LPT because we are a family. Yeah. Thank you.
Family.
Thank you, Anne. You're welcome as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet us all, and I know your journeys, you must be feeling tired as well from the travel, and it's all very new to you, so we appreciate, you know, your courage as well in coming over. So thank you from all of us, and we really look forward to seeing you out in those clinical areas soon. But you're very, very, very welcome and very much appreciated. I'm going to bring us to a close. I can't see any questions for the group, and I don't want to, obviously it's quite overwhelming, isn't it? So thank you again for having the courage to join us today. Appreciate that. I'm going to bring this session to a close. Thank everybody for their contributions. Again, to the presenters. We've had some great inspirational presenters today as well as other days, and it's been really fabulous to see that. Encourage you all to use the Here For You and really get our stories out there that really promote nursing and help people to understand what we do and get people on board. And just to say thank you again, and we look forward to Emma facilitating tomorrow, which will be our last day, and bring the International Nurses Week to the close. So thanks all. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye. God bless.
Bye.